Now, the other thing, I was thinking about this earlier on, is that each of these obviously is a section of accommodation, and if you see these all disappearing off into the distance, then there must be some kind of marking or something to tell you which block you're at or which section you're at. So I was thinking about just using this selection of polygons here to add like a color band and probably even put a number in or something. And then each one of the sections that's copied on could have a different color and a different number. And I can obviously do that by creating multiple copies of this in the cloner and changing the color of 2 or 3 of them, and then it'll do it in sequence. So, but in the meantime, I'm just going to do it on this particular one here, I think. Just put one color in. I want to select these polys. Do I want to go all the way down there? Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in the central one here where the biggest door is. Seems logical to me. Select all these polygons. And I think even, I'm just thinking if you were coming down the terminal, you've come down on the tram at the top, you've obviously found the right section anyway, but if you come down and you step out, maybe the flooring up there is painted in the same colour as this section. So you know exactly where you are. If nothing else, it's a little bit more interesting visual variance. So right, let's just set a selection on that. Select, set selection. And we'll call that section color. Just create new material. I'm going to go with something sort of orangey yellow. A bit of a nice contrast with the white, I think. Reflectance off for now. And drag that onto, in fact I can drag that straight onto here. That would have created a selection tag for it, but anyway, I'll do it. There you go. Yeah, maybe a little bit bold and bright that colour. I don't want it necessarily be too in your face. A bit more subtle. Okay, we'll go with that for now. I don't know whether it needs it anywhere else. I think maybe I'll just keep it in the central. We'll assume this is a central section or plaza for every section. Well, maybe we could have a bit of it above the doorway. These things always look good in sci-fi images, so yeah, let's do that. Actually, let's make it 3. And the same here. Because I'm not entirely sure about that, I'm going to click off and sorry, click off there is what I should have done. Start again. And Same there. Need to be closer to it, unfortunately. I guess there's a logic in it being on each of these doorways. And I've decided to just go for 2 blocks of colour. I'm going to set another tag because I want to keep that separately in case I change my mind on it. Set selection, section color 2. And I'm going to drag that material up again. Drag it into there. There we go. Again, just something else to make it a little bit more visually interesting, something else going on. Quite like that actually. The combination of the white, orange and black is always a nice mix. Now the other thing I want to do actually while I'm here, I know a lot of people sort of model stuff completely in you know, without adding any materials to it. Just do the complete grey model and then start worrying about texturing it afterwards as a separate process. I tend to do a certain amount of it as I go along, simply because as I feel like it's starting to take shape. At the moment this is taking shape as modelling in a nice way, but equally if I get some materials on it and start to give it a bit more sense of reality, looking a little bit worn or a little bit like it's made of multiple panels or something, that actually starts to, you know, increase my enthusiasm and it keeps me going for the next part of it. And when I know a part of it is starting to look like it's getting there, then that helps with the creation of the rest of it. So with that in mind, I'm going to create material for this white walls, these white walls here, because I obviously don't want it completely pure white. Again, you could argue because this is in space, in a colony that's kind of artificial and maintained in that way and not subject to the atmospheres of Earth and the usual wear and tear, that it would probably be pristinely clean. But that's not my kind of science fiction. I know that you see that a lot in certain things, but I do like the slightly worn aspect of it, although I don't want to take it as far as looking like something from Star Wars and like it's been around for a couple of thousand years. But I think I'm going to add some sort of paneling detail to this, and again I'm going to try and keep it just using procedural noise, so that when this is cloned all the way around it doesn't repeat itself exactly. It's just going to do it differently each time, so to a certain extent anyway. So I'm going to go into my white material here, which has been applied to this habitat section, and I'll keep the colour channel free. I'll do this in the diffusion channel, I think. Let's add some noise. Right, I'm going to go for something regular and rectangular that suggests sort of paneling. And I don't normally use these kind of things because they're so perfect, but I don't really want to go and paint something in Photoshop for this at the moment. I think this probably will do the job if we're careful with it. So the first thing to do is have a quick look and see what size this is applied to on the model. At the moment it looks like it's not making any. Whoa, there we go. Right, now that's obviously looking like it's, which is surprising to me because this is mapped via UV mapping, and our UVs are obviously going around this in a sort of curved fashion, yet it's all sort of going in a bit of a straight line, which I'm finding a little bit unusual. But perhaps what we need to do is change the mapping mode. 2D will probably do it, but I think we're going to have to alter the scale significantly. Let me just take that down to like 10. looked like it was closer. Yeah, that's following the lines it should. Okay, I'm just going to take it down to 2 so we can get a better look at it. Yeah, that's actually following the lines of the polygons, which is what we need. So let's just find a section here to look at. And I'm going to use the interactive render region. Just drag it out a bit. Right, let's change the scale of this little. Let's reduce. I want to get more vertical lines in it, so that's kind of works. Let's change the clip of it a little as well. I want to keep this fairly light, so I'll probably reduce the overall greyness of it down a bit. Go back to that again. I'm going to change that. See. No. Let's go with 15 on that. Maybe even less. 5 look like. It's a little too stripy. Okay. I'm not going to have this applied over everything actually, but certainly the walls. Let's I'm lowering the delta a little bit. I'm going to add another channel, so I'm going to go and select a layer which will put this noise inside it. Select shader and noise, but actually I'm just going to copy this one, so I'm control clicking to copy shader and I'm control clicking to paste, and I'm going to overlay this one, but I'm going to change the seed on it so it's a bit more random. Maybe alter the scale globally so it's smaller elements, maybe half that to 70, 60, let's write down 30. Just trying to get a bit of variation going on with that. Doesn't make any difference, that one. So okay, let's go back out to the mix and lower that to maybe about 60%. And to make it a bit more natural looking, I'm going to add another type of noise. One of my favourites for adding sort of dirt is Wavy Turbulence. But that's scales a bit off. Let's try that overlaid or multiplied even. Let's lower it down a little bit. Now, again, this is all way too strong. I only want this to be very subtle, really. What I like the most is this sort of paneling that it sort of creates here to show the that it's made of multiple blocks or whatever. I may need to make it a bit stronger than that. Let's go back in here, increase the noise, the dirt one a little bit. But that one set to multiply. Yeah, I still feel like I need a bit more reduction in scale. So what was that one? It's got a 40 on that one. No, that's too square. Definitely need to keep that longer. So let's go to 120 on that. Maybe I went too far with that. Reduce the scale of it some more. Yeah, I think that's better. The dirt in that, or the wavy turbulence, just seems to it breaks up the regularity of the squares a little bit more. The rectangles. It's probably still a little bit too bold. But let's just see what real difference this makes. Yeah, it does add some more. That's better. So let's just reduce that down. Go 40. What about overlay? Brightens it up. What I don't want this to do is to look too grey and dingy, or else it'll just look like some, you know, tired old high-rise building, which is not overly appealing for this kind of thing. So I'm just going to reduce that diffusion down a bit more. And we can certainly dial that up and add some more layers to it when it comes to it. It may even come to the point where I'm coming to doing close-up renders that I throw in a some kind of actual stone texture for more realism. Okay, that's all right. That's fine. That's good to go in that sense, I think. Let's turn off the render region. I'll find where it is. And close that. Quick render. Okay, the next material thing I want to take care of while I'm here is the window glass. Excuse me. Obviously that's going to be reflective and will look nice reflecting various things within the, or reflecting the environment on the other side when we come to do the final rendering, but I'm not going to add that in yet. But I suppose it's feasible, again, if I'm not using the room spaces I've created and just sort of creating the impression of space within these windows, within, you know, the spaces that's supposedly behind here. I need to do that with the material, and I can do that with luminance. I'm just thinking some of these rooms would be lit. There would be people inside and it would be light regardless of what time of day it was. Other ones would be dark and just be reflective. So to create that sort of variation, I'm going to do the same things I've done here, really, using noise to put some luminant areas amongst these windows. So I'm going to go to the glass material that we've got for the windows, turn off transparency, which we don't need right now, and go to luminance and noise again. Now I'm going to use a mixture of things here, I think. Box noise is quite nice for this kind of thing, which I can make more varied. So let's do this on 2D as well. And I'm going to add that into a layer as well, and add another noise shader, which will be cell noise. Probably cell noise is good, it's dark. I'm going to increase the darkness in it. quite a bit really. The purpose being that I'm going to attenuate the other one with that. Actually, no, that's not right. Let's do it on multiply. Let's have a quick look, see what that looks like. Let's get our render region back again. Okay, I'm not going to want anywhere near as much as that, so in terms of illumination, let's change the scale. It's probably a bit more like it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to throw a light in here. But move it somewhere else. That kind of does the job actually. What I'll do is make this a little bit of a warmer light, a bit of a yellow. And then multiply this over it. Not quite as yellow as that. And let's see if we can dirty that up a little bit more with the scale of this. What if I do that at 50%? Let's just turn off a minute so I can look at that noise. It's not really doing anything much. Let's turn the clip up on it. Okay, the scale's completely wrong on that. Okay, let's reduce this down. Actually, no, that can stay where it is. Let's just reduce this one down. So that's the vertical. Let's try that one at 50 as well. No, it's too much. Okay, reduce the clip again. About there. Because actually that suggests something going on behind there, but you can't quite make out what it is, which is a good effect. If you wanted this glass to be blurry, then this would be a good way of doing it, or to give the impression of it anyway. Let's turn that one back on. That's quite effective. That's following the, is that following the polygon lines? Or is it following the world line? Oh, it's polygons. It's over there. It's going on at the top. Right. See that as a bigger picture. Okay, what I'm going to do is scale the clip on that a little bit. That brighter. More lights go off. Oop, not too far that way. Might even get away with that. Need a bit more. Alright, I'm going to go with that for now. Again, that can be tweaked to the later point. It kind of does the job that I was trying to suggest. We definitely need to give the Fong some attention on here. So look at that again. Back up to 60. That might just because we're using a non-shadowed light. It's probably fine when it's actually yeah, it'll be okay. Okay, bit of a diversion there. Let's get rid of the light. We don't need that anymore. And we'll leave that as it is for now. I don't need any transparency in that glass at all unless I'm actually going to put those rooms in behind them. But certainly when this is all properly shaded with lighting and a reflection on that glass, I think that'll probably look quite nice. The other thing I'll do before we even get to the reflection actually is to put a bit of bump in the glass as well. Something else that just adds a little bit of realism. Because glass panes aren't all absolutely perfectly smooth. There's a little bit of a warp or variance in them, so I can do that again with the same noise. In fact, let's just copy that from the luminance. We'll take the VL noise. No, it's not VL noise, is it? What is it? Box noise. And copy shader. Base shader. It'll only be a subtle amount that it needs. So you just turn up so we can see it first. UV 2D, that probably should be fine. Let's turn that right down. Yeah, it's I mean, it's not necessarily easy to see that at the moment, but when that's got a reflectivity on it, it's obviously going to break that up a little bit, make it distort a fraction. So probably a bit less than that would be a good idea. It's just a subtle thing. Okay, so that's in place. I'll turn the luminance back on again. We'll turn our attention to the glass. So let's turn that on. Alt click both of those to bring it up. Let's bring up the atom array as well. That needs a solid material on it. Probably should be on there actually. Yep. Actually, now it's got a material on that. That kind of looks a bit thick, but let's look at it on bigger picture again. Yeah, that is a little thick. I don't want it to be that dominant. Atom array 0.02. That's better. Maybe 0.25. What's going on with that? Yeah, it's kind of visible enough without being too obtrusive or obstructive of the stuff going on behind it. I think what I'm going to have to do actually is delete this line of polygons of glass because they're in exactly the same place as this little strut. So let's just turn off the render region again. And go to the glass. Oh, those glass polygons are still selected, so I can just delete them. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. Now, obviously, this is going to be reflective. I'm reluctant to sort of start adding reflection in just yet because there's other modeling stuff to be done. And I want to keep doing preview renders. I know I can turn that off essentially, but I think I'm just going to focus on the sort of patterns of the textures at the moment on these. What I want to do is make this up of maybe little hexagons inside each of these panels. So that particular glass material there, I'm just going to use that one. Let's create a new one. It's going to be transparent. Let's put it at say 90% at the time being. We may not have any colour on it at all, and that kind of reflectance can stay on. So I'm going to create a texture using the tiles shader surface. There it is, tiles, and switch that to hexagons. Now I know I can do this without switching these to shades of grey, but for the sake of clarity I'm going to do that. Slight variance, maybe one completely white, maybe not completely white. Make that one somewhere in the middle. And randomize color so they're a little bit variable. Bevel width, I don't really want any bevel at all, really. Do 0 or will. Maybe just 1 then. Grout width 1. I may decide to even take that out completely. Get that thinner. Let's just apply that to the glass. Of course, that's completely crazy looking at the moment. That's probably going to have to be mapped cylindrically. I'm going to do tag fit to object. That makes the texture scale to that particular part of it. Oh, that's kind of crazy looking as well. So look at the, oh, that's Y. Right, so I'm going to rotate this, the mapping of this texture around. And again, do tag fit to object. Obviously the scale is completely bonkers, but I think I'll do that in here. Let's just reduce that down. We're going to need our interactive render region again. But we need to come down significantly more. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm after. Just trying to see the scale of it really. What's the difference? in the wrong place. Sorry. There we go, that's quite nice. Let's do it 0.7. Okay, I don't want that to dominate, so I want transparency to be about 90%, but I'm going to bring the mix of this down a little bit. And again, until there's really stuff outside to properly see, it's a job to be certain of the exact settings of that. But I just wanted to get that in there and add that bit of extra detail. And in fact, what I am going to do is copy this shader and put it also in the reflectance channel, or in a reflectance channel. Let's add a Beckman. And I'm going to put it into the layer mask. It breaks that up a little bit. Just going to turn transparency off for a second. In fact, what I want it to do is have the grout color be white in this particular instance. And in fact, I'm going to make all the tile colors black, because the only bit that I want to be reflective that won't work. You see at the moment what it's doing there, it's just reflecting purely in the hexagonal edges, which is not going to work for me obviously entirely. I need that to be, I still need these to be shades of grey, of course. Okay, well, when we've got more reflective things going on, we can come back to that. I quite like the effect of that. Again, adds a sense of scale to it all. Right, let's come out of texture mode. Right, just going to give that a save. Okay, I'm at the point now where I want to see this a bit more in context, just to drive me forward for the rest of it and give me an idea of how things are possibly going to look. So I'm going to quickly have a go at setting this up, or seeing what we've got cloned, etc. So what I'm going to do is switch the cloner on and symmetry as well. Go to Habitat Cam. I've got a few things switched off here, so framework needs to be turned on. Now, the other thing I need to do is add some materials to these. Just going to create a new white material, which I'm going to use for these structures here. Wait for the Mac to catch up. Right, here we go. So I'm going to make that pure white. I'm going to keep that as it is. Going to put some reflectance channel in there. Although I said I wouldn't before, I'm going to just add one in for good measure, see what it looks like in the lighting. Going to make that a bit blurred or rough. And yeah, I think that should be okay as it is for now. Right, I'm going to drag that onto the framework. And where else do I need it? In fact, I'm going to put that on the atom array, replacing that one that was on here, which is basically the stonework. And what have we got in here? Roof struts, that could replace those as well. That's the sweep at the above the roof, isn't it? Which I'm not sure about yet. I'm going to work on that some more, but let's put a texture on it for now. Okay, I'm going to just try a quick render as it is, actually. The other thing I want to do is make a wider aspect to this. It's going to be out here eventually, so I'm just going to go into my render settings and put in less height. Let's try that. And the other thing I might do with the habitat cam is increase the width. Maybe dare go down as far as 12. It's going to be very wide, but I quite like that. I'll move the camera over a little bit. I want to try and grab some of these features that I've got here. But we can go further back, I think. Let's go back without moving to the left. That's where I want to be. Over there. Because I think these will look good in view, these structural bits. What I'm going to do there actually is turn that, I've got X-ray on there somewhere. Is it on the clone? Yeah, that's better. I'll get a better idea what I'm looking at. Maybe go forward a little bit. Oh, delicate movements. Oh, there we go. That looks kind of cool, I think, being able to see those bits of the structure. Maybe see the top deck as well. That's quite nice. That's one viewpoint at least. I think everything's turned on. I'm just going to do a quick render to screen. Let me just go to render settings and see what we've got in there. Now I'm going to switch over to physical render for this. I think it's going to do a better job. Certainly do it quicker. Adaptive automatic I find is a better setting for physical render. 20% error threshold is fine. Again, for test renders, sometimes I'll even up that to 30. In fact, I'll do that now. But when it comes to the final render, you want to knock that down to, well, anywhere from 1 to 8 I tend to use. So this is where I'm at 5 is normally my average. Sometimes I need to up these as well, but we'll worry about that later on. I'm also going to put on, we haven't got any lighting yet, have we? Okay, let's do that now. Let's stick a light in. I'm going to use a target light initially. Actually, no, I'm not. Let's just use an infinite light. I'll pop out to an editor view where I can see where the light is. Okay, change that to perspective. Okay, angle it downwards. In fact, this is a useful way of doing this. I'm going to go to camera, set active object as camera. And that way I'm navigating my scene through the light. It could be a bit weird in here because I don't know exactly which way I'm facing anyway at the moment, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to come in from this side, I think. Probably fairly high. I want some shade on this side down here, but I don't want it to be too low a sun. So let's just go try it there. Do a quick render. Oh, before we do that, let's put some shadows on. Area shadows. Give the light a little bit of a tint of yellow. I'll pull this in again a second. Let's warm it up a little bit. Doesn't need to be too much really. And then drag out so I can see the full view. Do a quick render. That's looking interesting. Obviously it's very dark, very moody, but we could do with some GI in there. So let's, for the sake of fun and clarity, put on some global illumination. I'm going to use QMC and light mapping. Reduce that down a little bit. It won't make a huge difference, but oops, there we go. Turn that down to low. I'm going to turn on build radiosity maps and pre-filter, which speed things up a bit. And do another quick render to screen. That's looking pretty good. What's nice, although quite unintentional of course, is the in the roof glass where we've got the segmentation in the Phong, where it's showing the different panels. That's working really well. It's obviously a bit too reflective and it's going to need a Fresnel on that, but I'm going to tweak a few of these things now just to get this looking kind of where I want it before we move on to the next modelling stages. And the first thing I noticed that I want to do is the lighting, or the luminance we've added to the windows along the entire length of the colony. They look okay when you look over to the far right hand side. That kind of makes sense to me, but the ones nearby, I kind of feel like they should be, you know, if you're looking at it so close, I think they should be knocked out a little bit. It doesn't sort of ring true to me. So I've got a way of curbing that using Fresnel, so I'm going to go in there and deal with that now. We also need some reflection added into the windows. So let's just go in and have a look at that. Right, so luminance. First thing first, let's do the reflection. Let's add some of that. Right, I don't need a default specular. I simply need a reflection. So I'm going to add a Beckman layer. I'm going to knock the brightness of it down to maybe 50%. In fact, let's get our old friend, the active render region, or interactive render region, sorry. Bring that back to have a look what we're doing over here. I'm going to knock that down a bit. And in fact, we can probably go without GI while we're doing this. And we'll go with that lighting as well, because it's making life a bit more difficult. Let's use the default light for this. Oh, if we could see the default light. Let's leave that one on and turn off shadows. The best bet probably. There we go. There we go. Okay, I can see the reflection appearing there in the panes. But it's looking like it's a little bit distorted or overly distorted, so I think maybe the noise value is a bit too high. I'll knock that right down to 1. That looks a bit better. I also want to knock the color level down because I put this in to begin with just as a way of identifying the spaces as windows or the polygons as windows. But I think I'm going to take that right down. I still like a bit of that color in there. Let's just leave that at 40 for now. Now, reflectance. We probably should put some Fresnel on that, or Fresnel, however you choose to say it. And I think, given that it's hidden behind these little ridges, these roof slopes and stuff, I think I'm going to leave it a bit more reflective because I want to make sure it still reflects fully throughout. And that's not offensive to me at the moment, so I'll leave that as it is. What I want to work on is the luminance, where I fade out these light areas where we're closer to the windows. And I can do that again also with the Fresnel or Fresnel. If I just go to shader, where is it? Fresnel. But I need to reverse it because at the moment what it's doing, Fresnel works by, you see quite clearly here, as you get closer to an off angle or side of an object, it's like perfectly depicted here actually in the sphere, rather than me explaining you. As it falls off towards the edges, it becomes, in this instance, it becomes less reflective and fully reflective in the middle. So I need to reverse this around because what I want to do is essentially tell the luminance to fade off as we go around the side. So as I'm here at the side angle, I don't see the luminance. While I'm looking at it directly over there, the luminance is visible. So I'm going to just reverse this gradient by control clicking on it and clicking on invert knots. I'm probably going to pull that in a little bit so that the side fade is a little bit more definite. I want it to cut it out here. And back into the luminance layer, I need to set that to multiply. Now, if I just turn that off so you can see, there's areas here where it's illuminated. If I turn that off, you can see that that knocks that out quite successfully. I'm just going to check over this side actually, because that's where I want to see them on. Lift that up. Yeah, still working there fine. What difference does it make? Does it make any? Barely. So that's cool. The other thing I want to do actually is add a little bit more to this. We see a few more lights in the areas where you can. I think it looked better when it was about that level. Maybe a little bit less. Cool. Okay. So let's just turn that off again and do another screen render, but with shadows on. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to modify the interface because in my normal default setup I use two screens and I have lots of things docked that I use all the time. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm using the standard layout because that's obviously what everybody uses or everybody has. But what I'm going to do is customize it a little bit to make things a bit quicker and easier so I know where things are. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my picture viewer, which is something that I want to see or have at hand, and just switch between. Let's just do that a second. Right, let's just stop the rendering. Yes. And I'm going to drag, I'll switch this to a tab. If I control click on the square here and say convert to tab, and then do the same with this one here, convert to tab, and I'm just going to click and drag on this over to this tab here, and so that I can just switch between those easily. And what else do I want to see up here? I want to get the render settings up as well. Let's get these in here. I think it might be easy to just put these docked up here as well. There we go. Now, what else did I need? Oh yeah, some of these things. Interactive render region. I'm just going to, if I control click on the menu up here, the icon list, if you like, I'm going to say customize palettes, and I'm going to find interactive render region just by starting to type it. There we go. And I can just click and drag that amongst these other render tools, and close that down. Then I can instantly call it up and close it away again. So that's kind of helpful. Anyway, render settings, GI, and do a quick render. No, let's just render it here. That's clearly much too reflective, so I just need to tweak that again. And looking at the distortion levels, I think I need to change the bump even further. I'm going to go to 0.5 on that. Reflection, or reflectance. Yeah, let's just turn that down to 45, maybe even 40. And I think everything else is okay. The other thing while I'm here is I'm going to look at the window glass at the top here, which has got no Fresnel on it, and it needs it. So use the layer Fresnel here. Dielectric, because it's going to be transparent like glass or something. And in fact, I'm just going to go in here and pick one of these presets, use the glass or plexiglass. I don't know how different that is to the glass one. Let's have a look. It's just a index of refraction difference. Not too worried about that. Okay. I'm not going to do it fully that way because it's going to cut too much of the reflection out, but I think about 70%. So we still maybe 80%. Let's try that. Transparency. What are we at with that? Let's go to 95. I'm going to reduce that a little bit as well. Let's go for a render. In fact, we'll render this to the picture viewer. Okay, that's looking quite nice. I think probably I need to add in another light. Although the obviously we're in space, the only one light source is the sun. So any other light would typically just simply be by, as we've got here, bounced light reflections. I think I don't know whether I shall actually have it in the scene or not, but potentially the Earth is somewhere up here. So certainly there'll be a blue bounce of light coming from that into here. So I may well just add in a blue light to just fill out these shadows and make them look a little bit cooler. And also what this needs obviously is atmosphere. It's going to need, given the distance that we're looking at, and that this is going to have a landscape in it and trees and such like, there will be obviously an oxygen rich atmosphere in here. So I need to add that into the scene. Now I won't, yes I will, I'll do that now. There's two ways of doing this. One of them is obvious, and that will be to add create environment object. Sorry, there we go. Now with this, I can turn on fog, and I would be inclined to give it a little bit of a blue tinge. Over that way, up to that kind of level. Some more. Maybe a little bit strong. Strength fine at 100. Now, if I leave effect background on, then it's going to currently the black background is going to be turned to this pale blue color, which obviously is going to be unrealistic. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to set the distance. I'm going to take a guess at this. I think let's go for maybe 150. And I'm just going to do a interactive render region, or render. Place that there. That's quite nice. Maybe it's a little bit strong. Let's try 180. That's pretty cool. Now, this is all fine. And looks great actually. It gives a good sense of depth. But the problem is that if I move that up here, you'll see that despite the fact that it's not affecting the background black per se, it is going to affect the rest of the colony, because that's obviously pushing back in space and pushing back in the distance, and the environment is in front of that. That obviously is unrealistic, because this atmosphere is not anywhere but inside this colony. So we have to find a way of getting the atmosphere in here without it being out there. So I used this technique on my last image, my last space colony. I'm going to use it again here. So I'm just going to turn that off. Get rid of the environment. Thanks, but you're not much use to us. Just going to move this over. And I'm going to go into our spares and recover something that we've left in there from before. We've got in here our habitat profile mesh, which is basically an exact replica of this space. Or it may not be exactly a replica now, because we've changed the size of the ring, but I'm going to have a look at that. I'm just going to move this around a bit, just to see if it still fits it. It looks like it's different. That may be alright. Let's just undo that. I'm going to go back to my edit cam. I'm going to turn off polygons for now, or lines rather. Using the 1, 2 and 3 keys to navigate. Oh, that's not even my edit cam. This is my edit cam. That's okay. I'll just do it with this one. Now you can see where this is slightly out of alignment, because we've, if you remember when we were building the ring in the cloner, we extended the size of the disc or circle that it was following. So we may be able to. No, we won't. If I scale that up, then it's just going to scale it. Scale it so it just fits that. We'll try again. That's close. Let's try a little bit more. This is the disadvantage of using a Wacom at times. Let's use the mouse. Well, that fits that pretty closely. I can probably get away and use this mesh. It's got a problem now on the roof. It's a little bit too big still. I'm going to try to get away with this by switching to polys, selecting all polys on this, and doing an extrude inwards. So D on the keyboard. No caps. We don't want any caps created. Thank you. Let's see if I can get this to disappear inside the structure. Be close to the edges, but not touching them, preferably. Too far the other way. This is taking a little while to do because there's so many polygons selected, and it's my poor old Mac Pro video card is not happy about it. Okay, well, we're not seeing any of the superstructure or the main structure around it, so that looks like that's inside. The whole thing. Mostly. Right. Now you may be wondering why on earth am I doing this, but the reason is that I'm going to use this mesh as my environment. And I'm going to do that by creating something probably that most people never use. I wonder why on earth it's there. The fog channel in the materials. Switch back to the wacom. This is, well, it's the only time I've ever really used this. I've used it for this purpose only. But if you have an environment space and you just simply want to have an atmosphere in it, then you simply make a copy of that environment space and fill it with this fog material, and it will do the same job as the thing we just looked at. So that's set to 10 meters, which we know is wrong. So I'm going to put that to 180. I'm going to give this a blue tint, the same. It's about there, maybe a bit less. Back a bit. Okay. Now I'm going to apply that to this object. And I'm going to add a compositing tag because there's a few things I do and don't want it to do. Cinema 4D tags. Compositing. I don't want it to cast shadows or receive shadows. I do want it seen by camera. I probably do want it seen by GI because it'll add to the lighting. I don't want it seen by ambient occlusion, otherwise it'll make contact with things and cast shadows, or cast contact shadows. I don't want it seen by transparency, I think, or maybe reflection. I'm going to turn it off for now. I don't think I will need that. So it's not blocking up our viewport. I'm going to just turn that off there. Only appears at render time. And go back to my habitat cam. And we'll do another render. It's just the interactive render region for now. There you go. You can see that it's filling the space as it should. In fact, it's probably doing a better of a job of it because it's following the profile around. And equally, it's not affecting the rest of our colony out in space, or the outside of the colony structure. So that does the job. I'm just going to quickly click on that and show you it on its own. If I select this tool here, render active objects, you can see exactly what that's doing and how it just is putting fog simply in the interior space of the colony. That works quite well. Now the other way you could do this is render a depth pass, but you still have the same problem where that area there, the tail off of the colony, would be affected by the same depth pass. You'd have to mask it out. So I think this is probably going to be the best way of getting around it. So I'm just going to do a quick render to screen of the whole thing. In fact, let's just move that over again. Turn that off. There you go. That's looking quite nice. Okay, I think what I'm quickly going to do is, while we're doing this, is add another. I'm going to add that blue light in I talked about. I'm also going to slightly warm the sun up a bit further and brighten it a little bit as well. Push that above 100, maybe 120. Slightly more warmth. And I'm going to throw in another light. I'm going to use an Omni for this, I think. Probably use an area light as well, but let's go with Omni for now. Give this a blue colour. Bit of a bolder blue. And I'm going to use just soft shadows with this. In fact, I'm going to go in and edit those because I don't want them to be too... I don't want them to be defined at all, really. I'll leave it 250 and see what that does. And go back out to my editor view and choose where to put it. I think I've just messed up my... Yeah, I've still got this set. You've got to be careful of that as active camera, so I'm going to switch that over to default camera. And move my Omni higher up, back over here, and behind the colony, as if the Earth is back over here somewhere. Let's go there. Higher up again. Have a quick look and see what that does to the lighting inside. Oops. Actually, let's turn it down. It's going to be way too bright. Let's knock that down to maybe 40. That's better, I think, because we put some blue into the shadow areas here just to kind of cool down the contrast with the warm sunlight. I may well tone it down or knock the blue back a little bit as we go along, but it's filled the space out a lot better. Yeah, okay, that's great. Let's just carry on working with some of these materials. I can see some stuff that hasn't had materials applied. So, where is the hub? There we go. The hub section hasn't got a material on it. And the other thing I'm noticing is the intersection here between the glass and this strut. Let's turn that off. I need to go back to a previous point where I said I'd delete half of the roof. So that it could go inside the symmetry object. So let's do that now. Right, glass. I'm just going to solo that. And select all of these polygons. Delete. And just so we don't leave any stray points like this, I'm going to go to the glass object and do a optimize, mesh command optimize, and that'll get rid of any unused points. And then I'm going to drop, oh, I've done that in the wrong one. There we go. Solo that one. Well, both had to be done actually, but put solo off. There we go, select that. Do the same again, solo single. In fact, if we do it this way, just delete all the points instead of the polygons, and that'll get rid of it all in one go. Sorted. Right, now these two need to be copied into the symmetry null. Turn off the solo. There we go. I think everything that should be in symmetry is in there now. Yeah. Right, let's go back out to the clone and turn that on. Attack cam. Wrong vehicle. There we go. Another quick screen render before we move on to the rest of the modeling tasks. I'm liking the way that's looking. It's encouraging for the next stages, really. Oh, there is one thing, actually, before we move further on. I'm just wondering about the glass in the roof. I don't mind it being just that plain reflective and dark, but I'm wondering whether I can use the thin film shader, which was added in R18, which is really used to sort of simulate the that lovely kind of color shift or whatever you see on crystal and lenses, but equally you see it on coated glass in various forms. So I'm going to try this with, let's try plexiglass. It's just going to add a bit of a colour shift and a hue difference on the roof, which I like the idea of. A bit more interesting. We can assume that this would be coated in something to protect from UV rays, etc. So maybe this is a legitimate use of it. I think I like that. Certainly makes that a bit more interesting. I don't know whether it's a little bit too vivid. I may well knock it back a bit, but I think that contributes to the look of the glass. Cool. Right, let's move on.